Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Bad Idea Bros. In the last episode in this series, you would have seen Pablo piecing together his GT. Well, today it's my turn. You can see that the Diamondback Ascent is sitting on the frame, ready to go, and I'm itching to get into this thing. Now, I do have to admit that I've got a little bit of a head start in the sense that I've got the bottom bracket, crank and arms are basically fitted to this bike already. I got the guys at Around Again Cycles to do that. You would have seen that when we found these frames in the boneyard out the back that mine had no bottom bracket or anything in it. Now, I could have done it, however, I don't have the right tools, and for my own personal safety, I felt that it was best that I got the guys to fit it. So guys, should be a pretty straightforward one today. We'll be building the bike up. You would have seen most of the same sort of stuff done on Pablo's, but there are a few variants with this frame. So it's enough talking about it. Let's get into this thing. Okay guys, so I think with this one we're going to start at the front of the bike and work backwards. I've got all my components laid down on the floor here, ready to go. So we're going to start with those shocks in the middle. We'll build those onto the bike. We've got the stem, the handlebars, all the spacers and everything that are required are all there. I do have some nice Bergtech grips. They are off of one of my other bikes, so that is secondhand. I think you guys saw us peel most of these parts out when we did the first episode. So there's really not much more for it than to roll the time lapse. Let's get into it. Alright guys, that's got the front end on. That was all quite simple. None of the levers or anything are exactly tight just yet. I've got them roughly where I want them on the angles and such. You would have seen me sliding the grips on. That was purely just to get the right spacing for where this is all sitting. It's just pinched up. I will set it to exactly where I want it once it's on the ground. But we've got everything's bolted in the way it needs to be. Forks actually went on remarkably easy. These have been changed and we do have captive bearings in there, so that's all pretty much done. Front brakes are connected, bolted on. We'll connect them with the cable later, but that's pretty much the front end of the bike done now. So we'll move on to onto the middle, which will be the seat post. The seat's already attached to the post, so that's a job we don't need to do. We'll get the pedals on the crank, and then we'll fit the derailleur to the hanger here, and we are pretty close to building the wheels. Alright guys, so as you can see this is all going by very quickly. We've got the front end essentially built. The pedals and everything are on the cranks, the bottom bracket was already in, and we've got the derailleur hung on the frame. So it's now time to build the wheels. In this particular case there's nothing that needs to be done with the front. Normally you'd be mounting tubes and tyres, but I actually picked these ones up as a complete set, so they've got some reasonably okay Maxxis Ardents on them. They're good enough for what we're doing with these bikes. So you would have seen in the time lapse that I just fitted the skewer through the rim, and that is all on there now. But the rear. So we obviously need to put our cassette, which is all the gears that go on the back of the bike here, and that is that guy there. Now these have all these little notches or keyways on them, and you'll see that they're all exactly the same size except for this guy here. So this is a smaller one. I don't know if it's going to show up on film, hopefully it will. So all the rest are slightly wider, and I've got the very thin one at the top. This may not show at all, but in this cassette you can see there are all the corresponding reliefs for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this around until we can find the thin one, which is that guy there. He's at 12 o'clock now as well, so in theory that should just slide straight on. Perfect. The outer gear is separate on this particular one, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. We've got the thin one at 12 o'clock, so he will slide on. Now, when you're putting these onto the rims, the thing you really need to check is that your spacing between all of these cogs is about the same. And because this is a packed set, they're not all individuals. I think it may have been individual on Pablo's, and that fought him a little bit. So a little bit easier for mine, but they're all actually spaced out perfectly. We've got our last one on, and then we've got our lock ring. And that does just go in there like so, and that's on a thread that we do need a particular tool for to tighten that up, but we do have that. So I'll crack that off. I believe it's about 40 Newton meters, but I'll check that, and we'll tension it up and fit it to the bike. Okay, and with that the chain is now on. So guys, that is everything fitted to the bike that we need to while it's up in the air like this. I might just do one more small job, which is to set the brake pads just so that they're making contact with the rim where they need to be. These things are height adjustable. I don't know if you can see in there or not, but they do slide up and down. So we'll get that set approximately where I need it to be to contact the rim so that we're not pulling up on the tyres or anything. I don't know if it was necessary to set the brake pads up like that. It makes sense in my mind, so that's what I've done. So we're going to pull it off the stand now, and for the first time the bike's actually going to be on the ground complete. Kind of. We've still got the cables and stuff to do obviously, but that's the fiddly bit, so like it's going to be one of those jobs where the last 10% is 90% of the work. But yeah, we'll get it off the stand, we'll get it down to the ground, make sure that I've got those handlebars nice and straight, and we'll start figuring out these cables. So we've got everything on the handlebars as needed. We've got all the angles are set. You would have seen me sitting on the bike making sure that they were comfortable for the position. Grips are now on. The light is pretty bad, sorry guys. I'll see if I can come around. So there we go. Nice Bergtech grips. Like I said, these are actually second hand. They are off one of my other bikes, but these are really great grips. And we've got all the levers and the gear set, well, the gear change, sorry, levers on there. we are running a single speed on the front, so that's why there's only the gear lever on the right, and I think it's a 8 speed on the back. So 1x8 on this, 42 tooth on the largest, and I think the smallest one's 12. So should be pretty good on a flat ground, and should be okay for climbing. I think the front's 36 tooth, but I don't actually remember that specifically. But anyway, guys, we are up to the fun part, the running of the cables. So the two up the top here, they'll be for the gears. So that'll run from the, where are we, the lever here, down. It looks like on this one it runs under the frame to that little tide there and out to the derailleur. And then the brakes, we've got the two brake cables together there, and then the outer, and in that bag is all the noodles and bits and pieces that we need to get them on. Haven't built brakes like this in a while, so it'll be a bit of a learning process for me, but we'll get into it and see what happens. So you may have seen me mucking around with this pick while I was working on the cable outers, and the reason for that is this internal relief here where the inner cable slides in the outer. So basically what you've got is the inner cable that slides through the outer, and that moves inside of it. Now the reason for the pick is that when you're using the pliers, I don't know if this is really the right way to do it, but when you use the pliers to cut it to length, like so, it actually crushes the end of that. So you've got your black outer, there's a bit of metal banding for strength in here, and then you've got this white, I want to say Teflon, but I'm not actually sure, coating for the inner, and that allows the cable to slide nicely. So all I was doing with the pick is basically cleaning that inner out of the way, like so, and that gives you the free space on the inside to again run the cable through freely. So that's all that was, guys. Nothing really crazy about it. It's just a bit of straightforward stuff, and the pick does make it definitely a lot more easier to get that cable in. You'd be fighting it without, and the cable would bind up on the outer and it just wouldn't be smooth moving. But that's all that was, guys. I thought you might like to see that, so let's carry on. So there we have it, guys. My Diamondback Ascent is now built. That was a really simple process. Physically putting the bike together, not a worry at all. It took like 3 different tools. Putting the cables and making sure they're all the way they need to be, definitely a bit trickier. I haven't done that sort of thing in a very long time, so learning as I go, shall we say. But guys, it's complete. Everything's bolted together. There are a couple of things I will need to go back on. I'm not super happy with how the brakes are adjusted. In talking about the brakes, I think I'm going to fork out for some new pads. They do have pads on them. They're mostly worn. They look quite hard and glazed. I don't know how old they are, and when it comes to stopping, I'd rather just have the right stuff on there. So I'll venture back to Around Again Cycles. I'll see the guys there. I'll take this in, obviously. They can have a look at the brakes for me, and I might get them to just do a spanner check and make sure everything's adjusted the way it should be. But guys, today was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed building that bike. It was something a little bit different for me. So, you know, a bit of a learning curve. But I think that's about it. So, in the next one, hopefully Pablo and I should be taking you guys into the Christchurch Hills. That's the plan anyway. So guys, as always, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!